Welcome, everybody, to Mentor Time. Today, we have a topic that's aligned with things we've been talking about in the last few months. And you'll see at the end, I'm giving you some other resources where we've discussed similar or complementary things that you'll want to know about if you haven't had a chance to look at the videos. Today, we're going to talk about how do you get virtual attention where and when you want it. And the subtitle is Using Real Estate Effectively. And we're really going to talk about this as a real estate thing, because I think we're not taking advantage of things that we think need much more direct intervention from us. Oh, that was really a long, involved sentence. All right, here's the takeaway. You're going to use locations. I put it in quotes because it doesn't necessarily feel like a location to you, to get attention in the two-dimensional spaces that we're all operating in these days. And we're operating in them more and more in many ways. And they will help us get prepared for more three-dimensional experiences as well. Some of you who've been around with me for a while will recognize I've said this over and over again. Don't make me do your work for you. This is the negative side of saying you need to be talking to the other side of the convo. So this means that you're going to be thinking about things as making it easy for people to learn about you, to engage with you, whatever, as we're going forward today. Here's the agenda. Today we'll talk first about attention, please, and how you can get it. Things that have to do with what are your locations and how can you use them. And then, as always, we end with what should you do? And we'll be doing changes. All right, in the chat box, I know one of you's driving, but in the chat box or Slido, I'd just love to know a phrase, a sentence. Where would you like to be getting more professional, more attention professionally right now, and you're not? Maybe it's something you're doing. Maybe you're not aware of it, but think about it and see if there's anything that you can think of that would be, oh, I really would like more people looking at my LinkedIn profile. All right, I'll give you a minute to respond. Make your answer. Welcome, Sheila. I forgot to greet you earlier when you got on. Happy to see you here. All right, chat box, hopefully professional portfolio. Sheila, that's great. I love that. I love that. Let's talk about it. And if I don't address it at the end, we'll open it up for comments. Someone else says, I don't know. And that's fine too, because sometimes we don't think quite in this way about how and in what way do we think we're being effective in what we're doing. Life right now is all around certain things that we have to do for job seeking, promotions. Let's go on and talk about those. Get attention, please. And we don't all have those bullhorns. I don't know if they still call them bullhorns, to those loudspeaker things that you can talk through. But here's what I hear from people. Assume my LinkedIn profile rarely gets viewed. I don't know what they even mean by that. We all get a report from LinkedIn on my profile video. My profile views went down, but what does that mean? Or, Sue, I have tailored my resume so many times already. What else is left when you're telling me I need to think about things? Those who are in real estate, or maybe all of us know this, many of us know this in the US, when people talk about buying a house, they talk, or even renting a job space, workspace, location, location. They say you can't move a house. You've got to find the area, the street, the driveway, whatever you like, because once you found the house, if you like the house, but you don't like the neighborhood or you don't like the commute, you can't move it. But we're going into a two-dimensional space. So this, like all of the pictures I'm showing you and everything we're doing today, we are in a two-dimensional space. If I had a physical copy of this photo and flipped it over, it would be blank on the back or have a little writing about what day it was processed. But we can see that two-dimensional locations give us an idea of three-dimensional perspective. We can see the park that this person's walking in the snow is tree-lined. The trees don't have flower leaves on them. We can see some benches. We see that there's a building at the end. So we're learning a lot just about this person walking in the park from a two-dimensional location. I have a couple things I want to go over here to show you areas that I want you to watch for as we move forward under locations. The first is content, and many of you have heard me say this before. Content is both context, the words and the descriptors, and formatting. And by the way, this was the only good formatting picture I could find. I don't know about you, but I looked at this and my little bit of needing things to be straightened out said, they didn't align the eye with the bottom, all the bottoms are almost in the same thing. So if it bothers you, it bothers me too, but not enough not to change the picture. Because I thought it was a good show of formatting and what we need done. All right. Content being context and format, on the left is what we think of when we write content. It's writing, making paragraphs. This is lorem ipsum. This is just the stuff you can fill in Latin, fill words with. I didn't have you focusing on the words, but what else gets added to it? I'm here to tell you that format is visual. We use formatting, but also think visuals today when you look at formatting. You're looking at a screenshot of someone's resume who said, yes, you can show my resume, Sue. And you already get some impressions from it. That's the visual part of it. One thing that we often forget is that when readers read, all of us, we create stories in our mind. So here you are creating images in your mind. I want to propose that you think about text also as visuals or images. And although I will say that there are difficulties with using some of the things that I've talked about today for accessibility issues, for people that have trouble reading on screen, for screen readers, the general norm is what I'm going towards, that these are things that are standard abbreviations. In this case, we're going to learn grammar if we don't know the difference, and that's fine. These are acronyms. These are first letters that formulate usually not a word like UNICEF, but the first line degrees are degrees. We look at that, we don't have to think Masters of Public Health. Locations, USA, UK, we recognize that as an image and we know that we get information from that. And then AUD, that's Australian dollars, and then UNICEF. Now, normally acronyms aren't, often acronyms are short and not pronounced like UNICEF. But in this case, generally acronyms are all capitals. Abbreviations, on the other hand, take us from doctor, professor, and senior to DR, PROF, and SR. And we recognize immediately if DR is in front of our name, a person's name we're reading about, we know what that means without having to think, oh, that means doctor. Now, professional, sometimes I use that to mean professional. I know I wander with my abbreviations. And I also want to propose to you that a number and nouns together, such as 5 years, 20 countries, as you write in a biopara about experience or in your resume, those can also be images because your eye goes to a number because it's different from all the letters and then captures the little bit of information after that. So that's some background on how to help you realize things that you probably already read this way and weren't thinking that you were reading something as a visual. Let's talk about all of our different locations. I gave them categories. Periodic are the things we use usually in job search, promotion, and usually the resume. 24/7 is my category for online platforms, primarily LinkedIn for all of us discussing this today. But you may have a Slack channel that's very engaged in conversation with people that you want to be seen professionally in front of. You could be using Instagram for marketing some of what you do in healthcare information, for example. And I'm calling the last category opportunistic because video meetings primarily, audio meetings maybe, but video meetings offer us an opportunity. They're not necessarily regular, but when they come up, there are things you can do to take advantage of them. Let's start with the resume. Some people call it a short CV to distinguish that from the long CV. I mocked up a quick view of what my first page of my resume might look like from the template in the professional presence course. And I highlighted for you all the degrees after my name. I think people forget. I still see people submitting resumes, and when you apply for the course, you send me a resume or a CV. When I look at them later, oftentimes I'll see the name up there with no degrees. That's in the category of don't make me do your work for you, because most of us have our education not anywhere near the front page anymore. But you also want to do it so that it's there, it gives people credibility. And if you haven't heard this before, I want to make sure you do not put your degrees in the chronological order that you earn them in, which used to be the old way to do things, and some places may still want you to do that. You put the most important degree next to your name. Why? Because if they read your name, they're going to immediately see Sue Griffey, DRPH. And this is shown definitely in the bio para first sentence, where you just scan down the left, even if you don't read the whole first line. They don't need to know what FNP is. Maybe they don't know what BSN is, other than it's a bachelor's of something. But the important thing for me is making sure people know I have a doctoral degree if they're hiring me for that kind of work. I want to have you act as the hiring manager. Maybe not this young, but pretend you're this guy or pretend you're yourself. I'm going to show you a slide on the next page, and you're going to have 10 seconds. I'm going to put a timer there. And I want you to note what jumped out at you. Make some quick notes when we're done, and then I'll go over the things that I found if no one wants to volunteer to tell me what they saw. But you're going to see basically the first page of someone's resume. Are you ready to go? All right, here we go. I'm going to start the timer for 10 seconds if you want to look at the left-hand side. Okay, that's it. All right, who wants to tell me what you saw? Does anybody want to unmute and tell me what did you see that struck you? That might be an image, but what kind of information struck you? Melanie needs to drop off. That's fine. Thank you.
Ooh, I didn't know what SRHR in their title is.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Anything else?
Also, I noticed the UK spelling of program.
Okay, good. So that gave you some information. All right. Let me run through this and see what helps you. We see that the bio para, you don't see the heading information. It made it too small for you to read it, but the bio para definitely has the master's degree there, and you read immediately with the program management professional. Maybe you scanned down the left and you saw 12 countries and 800 facilitators. You see the image very quickly, and it stands out that the job title comes before the organization. It's easy to pick that up. And the last is information in context, but it's also formatted in such a way that when you look at that italicized text and then you see the 3 bullets under it, you're thinking, this is a story. This is something that hangs together that I know I'm going to find some information because of the way that it's indented there. So it becomes a glanceable image. If I just go back a second and show you this, you can quickly aggregate it in your mind and think, oh, I'll read about this first, and then you won't have to read a long list of Sue's bullets, obviously. Okay, let's go on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is open for business whenever you want to be there. But do you have to be there 24/7? Oh, no, that's the beauty of it. LinkedIn is static and always available. You all may recognize the first box in LinkedIn, I call it your first box, has a wealth of images already. My headshot. I have my logo in the upper left corner, and I have a banner that has an image in it. So great, there are visuals there that are giving you some context and information. But you'll also see my degrees next to my name. Luckily, LinkedIn changed that for us. I think it was in the past year or two. I also have both name record, the icon for name record, which is the speaker with the little sound waves, and then I have a verified profile, which is the check mark. You get some information from that. Oh, Sue has name record done. I could listen to that. And then you can see on the left under my name that I have not my job title because I'm not looking for a specific job. I'm looking to tell people about my business of Sue Mentors. And it matches the business that I have on the right-hand side above my education. I want to show you Nada's profile. She's given me approval to share this and show you how this looks when you have other opportunities. So Nada has a great headshot. She has a wonderful banner. What she did is she blurred this photo. She had this photo in a different version of her banner before. But she's told us right in her banner in readable, capturable phrases what she works on: lab medicine, global health and drop med, and citizen-based science. So just from the top of the first box, you get a lot of information about Nada. Then we see that she's also done name record, and I will tell you her degree should be there. She finally was able, it was finally awarded. The university in Sudan was closed for a long time, and it was awarded about a month or 6 weeks ago. So she probably hasn't had time to go back and change that. And then on the left-hand side, we see she's founded something that looks like it's compatible with her interest in trop medicine and laboratory medicine. And she wants to be working with youth and in global health. So again, we get a lot of information there. And now we see that she has a new job. She just started this job at a laboratory as well. Next place on LinkedIn is your About section. And that is not the About section itself, but the fact that LinkedIn lets you put 5 skills there. When people glance at your About section and see those 4 lines, underneath, they may not read your skills, but they will look at that and think, oh, she's got her skills there. I know exactly what she does. Nada also has a featured section, and she's featuring information that shows you the kinds of work she's done in laboratories, in the work she's done with the Parasite Initiative. So it's all reinforcing her expertise there. And she posts a lot, and it happens, LinkedIn has started showing us posts as cards now. These 2 cards show the interest she has in sharing more about her now work at the Family Care Medical Laboratory and information that a colleague of hers has posted. Now, when it comes to experience, she did exactly what she needs to do, which is put words under each job. But you can see her laboratory job, the new job she has, the trainee, she hasn't had time to do that yet. So I know she's planning on it. But look at how just seeing her first of the description she has under Parasite Initiative, she's also got her important skills, infectious diseases and communication, are there showing, oh, that's what she does in her job in running the Parasite Initiative. And finally, opportunistic, which are video meetings of some kind, maybe synchronous communication channels. I'm on Zoom all the time. Zoom's the thing that I can show you features in comfortably. You have an opportunity, excuse me, to put your name in. I put my name and my company name there. Choice of yours if you want to put your pronouns in. But you can put your name, you can put Sue in a little tagline. You can put Sue and location, whatever you want that helps people see you when you come to that. It's a synchronous meeting, perhaps, but it's asynchronous in terms of how you engage with people. I have something called Text Blaze where I store standard information, such as this is meeting information I put in. I cut and paste it. It's all there. There's no spelling errors. I know my link is correct. And it's a way for me to engage with people in the chat box while the meeting's going on. So again, it's a flat two-dimensional space, but it allows you to see and be seen. This obviously is only available when the meeting's happening. And if you haven't done this already, please check your Zoom profile or your, what's it called, Teams or Google Meet profile and put in a headshot of you to appear when you can't be on video, like some of you today. Many people just use your name, and that's fine too. There are reasons that some people don't want to use your picture. But for consistency, if you're going to put a picture in it, it'd be great if you put in the one that's recognizable on LinkedIn so people can match you up immediately, especially if you don't have your full name in your name box. What should you do? Let me just remind you about your locations and make sure that they're in alignment. This is how you have consistency, but how people will remember you. They will know, oh, that's Sue Griffey on her resume. It says Susan, but I understand that's her formal name, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's Sue Griffey in the video meeting. I recognize her from LinkedIn. So here's some things you may want to consider doing. I need to go back and review my content for context and format. Am I using the imagery? Am I using the perspective of this being an image as well as the words I'm using so people can learn my story and remember more about me? You may want to add missing elements to your LinkedIn profile if you have some time, or go back and complete your video meeting profile, name, headshot, and anything else they let you put in. Thanks, Sheila. All right. So in the chat box, if you could just put in one thing that you think you can do in the next 24 hours to increase your visibility. And it doesn't have to be what I mentioned. It doesn't have to be what I showed. I'm sure there's lots of other things you all can think of. I'm just curious about what do you think you want to take forward? I'll get you all started. I know I need to update my featured. I have one interview and one presentation I want to make sure people know I've done recently. I need to update my featured section for sure. And I'm hoping I'll get it done by tomorrow because it's been on my list since December. Anyone else? Unify my pictures on all my profiles and finally do voice recording. Hooray! Thank you, Peter. That's great. I appreciate that. See if anybody else has contributions. Get verified on LinkedIn. Thanks, Cassandra. It's easy to do. Apparently, it's easy to do for people around the globe. Many countries are now able to do it relatively easily. So that's fabulous. I can't wait to see it, the check mark when you do get that done. All right, I just want to leave you, and when I will send these out when I send out the recording. We've had two other presentations last time a couple weeks ago on what counts as experience, and we talked in October about credibility cues, which are things like your degrees also. And so they all work in concert together so that you can use your locations, whether you're there or whether they're asynchronous, especially LinkedIn, which is there all the time. You can use those to get attention in your two-dimensional spaces. I'll stop there and see if anybody has comments or questions.
I really like the advice of having um, a prepared thing for when you're in a meeting that's already ready and you can just copy and paste it right in with even if just your location and your name and open to connections on LinkedIn or whatever. But I really like that advice because that's a really easy thing to just be able to drop in, and then anybody that you talk to or hears you on the meeting can make that connection. And I think that's good advice.
Great. Thank you, Peter, for mentioning that. Yeah. Text Blaze is one of those things that should fill in text boxes on browsers. And I don't find it works everywhere, especially the browser pop-ups that are dialog boxes. But I can go to my browser, open Text Blaze. I know exactly where I have text for that. Or like when I'm editing these meetings and putting in captions, I have a phrase that said all captions are AI generated. So you're right. Consistency, it reduces your workload and it reduces what we talked about last time. It reduces the cognitive overload of where do I have it and how do I say it and did I copy my LinkedIn URL so that it's clickable. So thanks.
And also usually when you're logging into a meeting, you're logging in just as it's starting and the minute before, and you're in a hurry, and then if it's already typed out, then you can just it's ready to go, and you don't have to think about what you're needing to write while you're trying to settle in and whatever. So you can just be ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I think all of us are like, oh, it's 1 minute of, I guess I better get on the meeting. Or maybe it's just me.
Not just you.
Okay, good. Somehow I figured it wasn't just me. All right, everybody, thank you for your engagement. I know Ron comes when he can. He had other things he had to do today, but Ron and I always welcome your feedback. I will be sending out a note in probably by the next weekend about April, May, and June meetings and topics. One topic that I've discovered was woefully never covered in a way that I thought I always should have done it and didn't realize. I'm now going to be doing one of the mentor times that I think is planned for March. I've decided I'm going to put that on hold and talk about transferable skills, how you actually define them, because with the big change in what's happening right now and so many public health people being let go from federal agencies, I'm finding there's a dearth of information about transferable skills. It's the usual. They tell you use your transferable skills like communications, conflict resolution, but they don't show you how to do it. So I have some examples. In fact, I came up with 8 categories of transferable skills that I think will all help us be able to continue talking in plain language and describing for almost everybody what we do. I think my sisters finally get a sort of a sense of what I've done in public health. All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming today, and I'll see you again in a couple weeks.